games 2 and 3 were better.
Right now,
They're
I have
still
to
giving
stop
up
saying
4.5 goals a game.
Hi.
Oh,
We just started talking. Well, no, we've been talking. But now we're going to talk with you. This is the DLS Stars pregame show, and we're going to get started. We're going to talk to Sam over at the AAC. We're going to talk about all things Stars with Luds over here. John is here. And, of course, if you're watching this, you're here. So welcome. Let's get it started.
Get ready, boys.
This is the DLLS Stars pregame show presented by Bud Light and by Happiest Hour. All of our Stanley Cup playoff coverage brought to you by both, including Bud Light. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. And by Happiest Hour, check out Happiest Hour for the best spot to watch the NHL playoffs. Don't forget, before we get into our DLS Stars pregame show, tonight, it's it. Our introductory NFL draft die-hard discounted sale of $36 for the first year ends tonight, meaning your last opportunity to sign up to be a die-hard at an incredibly low introductory offer. If you haven't signed up before, this is a great time to do it. Scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen, and just think about this. If you sign up today for only $3 a month, aka $36 for the first year, not only do you get a DLS Stars t-shirt, but you will be a die-hard covering all of this playoff run and all of the 2025-26 regular season. Help us make sure that we beat DNVR and the other All-City networks to have the most diehard signups during this sale. Sign up today. It'll end after tonight. All right. Welcome inside the DLS Stars studios. I'm Owen Newkirk. He's Craig Ludwig. I just kicked my power cord off my laptop. It doesn't matter. Let's welcome in Sam Nestler over at American Airlines Center as we get you ready for Game 5 tonight, Stars and the Avalanche. And Sam, obviously this is a big one. Fill us in on the lineup news, both who's in, who's out, and some injury updates that you have for the Stars lineup as we get ready for a big one.
Yeah, I'll start with the number one that everyone's looking at is Miro Heiskanen will not play tonight. I know a lot of fans were hoping before the season that this would be the one that he would come back in. As far as Miro goes, he skated all through their practices and morning skates in Denver. He skated this morning, both before practice or morning skate and during morning skate. Still looks like a pretty full participant. As we know, Pete said, waiting on that planned contact, which we will not know when that is, but as of now, hasn't taken that step and is not an option tonight. So I guess pushing the hopes along to Game 6 and maybe Game 7 from here with Miro. Miro did skate before, as I mentioned. He skated with the scratches, the Dumba and Brendan Smith, who've been scratched through the series, and then also Maverick Bork, who is going to come out tonight for Oscar Becks, who he returns tonight. He missed Game 4 with the oblique injury that he suffered in Game 3. He returned tonight. He says he feels good. I talked to Oscar a little bit about the injury. He said it was kind of a weird non-contact one where he just was all on the wall, reached out with his stick in his right hand and went to poke it and felt something kind of pop or pull that didn't feel right. Went back to the bench and just was waiting for it to settle down. It just never did. So he actually went to the room. As we know, Pete said he kind of froze it up, which is to him, he said it was cortisone shots, a couple of injections into that oblique, and then he felt great along with some adrenaline and able to finish that game. He told me that if it was a Game 7, he maybe could have gone. It was one of those where we talked about it in our pregame show. If the Stars have such a great fourth line that it's not like it's a huge drop-off where the guy has to play through a severe injury. Otherwise, it's going to be a huge letdown. They had Maverick Bork come in. Bork looked good. Beck's going to come back in. The fourth line has just been one of the most consistent lines for this team for quite a while now. So that's the lineup changes in terms of the Stars. And then Jake Oettinger, obviously, in net. The interesting part for me is going to be seeing who can step up. Right, we've seen different guys in different games. The Stars, I believe, are last in the playoffs in terms of scoring. So some guys need to step up and start scoring some goals, and we'll see who that comes from tonight.
Sam, I'm not trying to give you too hard of a time, but let's face it, it's an easy thing and you're an easy target sometimes. But
Love it.
we got to bring up the laying an egg tweet again, because you actually went to the source of your attempted humor, which, well, let's face it, you were eviscerated on Twitter. It didn't even have to come from us. So you brought it up to Jake. How'd that go?
I did. I told Jake. I talked to Jake probably more than anyone else on this team just throughout the year. I've always been a goalie guy. Scott Wedgwood was one of my favorites to talk to. It's just, I don't know if it's because I was a goalie in lacrosse and kind of have that vibe, but I get a lot of good information from the goaltenders, and they're usually pretty easy to talk to. So I told Jake exactly what happened. I said, here's what happened on Twitter. I posted it and I told him I got absolutely reamed about it. And he said, first he said, well, good. I was like, no, but it's not what I meant. And I explained it and he said, well, welcome to Twitter. That's what happens. But then the more interesting part, he laughed about it. He thought it was funny. Obviously he was pretty confident with how his game went. I didn't think I was in too hot of water if I brought that up, but the interesting part to me is he talked about that play. I can't remember who the shot was from, but he said it deflected kind of in front of him and went up into his elbow, and he just froze thinking he had it, and then just felt, he says sometimes you feel just a little movement and you can't tell whether that's, you know, a strap on your pad or a part of your jersey hitting you or a stick from someone around you. So you don't want to move too much, right? That's worst case scenario. If a puck's not loose and you have it and you move thinking you don't and you make it loose or push it in with your pad. So that puck that fell behind him, he said he just froze up, and then once it moved, he had no idea where it was, and he just kind of went sprawling back and laid on it. But the interesting part to me about it was he says Brock Nelson was the one who was the closest to that puck. He said Nelson does something that very few players do that Jake actually said that more guys should do, which is every shot that's taken, when you go to the net, you stop in front of the net, but as soon as you see the goalie make the save, you kind of sweep behind him. And that can look silly when there's no puck there and it's an easy one to the stomach that Jake swallows up. But in terms of a puck leaking through, if you're just back there all the time, you're going to get a few of those. And I looked back and saw a couple goals that Nelson has scored throughout his career where he just standing there, puck drops behind, and he's got a wide open net to backhand it in. So just an interesting concept. But yes, I did bring it up to Jake. I got to finally, hopefully, put that to bed, and I learned a valuable lesson. As Owen said, either write something about how I'm joking or put a video in so people know what I'm talking about, so I no longer get in too much trouble.
You need to do this and hold up and have it say sarcasm. You have to make it
sarcasm
blunt,
incoming,
right? So that there's no confusion, because you remember Twitter has all and none of the sense of humor at the same time.
Yeah, I will say diehards backed me up right away. Before I even cleared it up, our diehards were in there saying, understanding the joke, laughing at it along with me, and then backing it up and saying, I don't know how people aren't understanding this. So full credit to our diehards for having my back on that one.
All right, let's talk about the importance of this one, because obviously it's a 2-2 series. I'm going to ask Luds some similar questions about it in a minute. Real fastballs, Luds, by the way. But it's clearly the percentages are whoever wins Game 5 in a series tied 2-2. And by the way, for the fourth time in NHL history, all four series in the first round of a conference are tied at 2 at the same time. I mean, it's only happened 3 times prior to now. All 4 Western Conference series are tied at 2. Take us through just how important this game is tonight.
Yeah, Mike Heiko actually brought it up this morning. We're at Morning Skate and said that 79% of teams who win a Game 5 when it's a 2-2 series go on to win the series. And I tried to think back, and the only real one I could think of was that St. Louis series when St. Louis won the Cup, when Dallas went up 3-2 after winning that Game 5, and then they ended up losing 2 in a row and losing that double overtime heartbreaker with Pat Maroon with St. Louis. And so honestly, the importance is for me more mental than anything. Like, you can do it. Obviously, it's the Stars won 2 games in a row. It's not different than that in terms of the actual on ice play, but for a confidence boost for this team, for mentality, I actually think this game is more important to Dallas than it is to Colorado. I think the fact that you're going back to Colorado, the fact that Colorado just pretty much beat the crap out of you in Colorado in Game 4, it just feels like Dallas needs to win this game to feel good going forward. It's not the end of the series if they don't, but personally, I just think it's a huge game for Dallas. Take advantage of your home ice. Don't allow this to become a 50-50 win 1, then win 2. You got to end the series, and that's going to be a huge one tonight. But for both coaches and honestly both teams, they expect a big increase, a big jump in intensity, in mood, in the vibe of both teams in this game tonight. Jared Bednar said that it's something that he sees very often from his team, because you understand what we're just talking about right now. It's very real. And as much as players and coaches like to ignore 90% of the things that we say in the media during the season, you can't ignore the importance of this game. And for Pete, he said this is money time, is I believe the term he used for it. He said we've been missing some key guys producing offensively. This is the time you do it. And that to me, that's why, Wyatt Johnston, Matthew Kane, Mikko Rantanen, even Rope Hintz, those guys, this is the opportunity. This is what you get paid the big money for. This is what you are on the top six for all season long, to make an impact in the games that are most important. And Pete had a funny way of looking at it today. He's a very positive guy, as fans are starting to understand. It's kind of hard to get to Pete, right? It's kind of hard to sense any frustration from him, especially in front of the media. But he said it's good, almost good that his top players haven't had a lot of success, because they're due now. And while that is a great storyline, if those guys do step up in these next couple games or 3 games, however far this series goes, it's also a dangerous way of living in the mentality of, hey, you're due. That means you're going to deliver. They still have to deliver on the ice. And like I said before, I think this is the time for Dallas. They got away with, some very tight games. They had some help from the fourth line. Tonight is where the Mikko Rantanens, Matthew Shanes, Wyatt Johnston's, Rope Hintz, they need to step up and deliver the results in the big moments. There's not much bigger a moment for Dallas than this one tonight.
Well, we're back here. I know you're getting ready to cover the game. We'll talk to you post-game. Then we'll probably have a practice day, and then we got to send you back to Denver. It'll be a fun one, but it's nice to see you after your 3 or 4 days out in Colorado.
It's good to be back, boys. I'm excited for this one tonight. Enjoy the game.
All right, there's Sam Nestler joining us from the AAC. We'll, of course, talk to him post-game. All right, Luds, lot going on, but as we just talked about with Sam, the stakes couldn't be more simple tonight. Series tied 2-2. One of these two teams will be facing an elimination game on Thursday in Denver. The question is, tonight's game will decide which team will be trying to fight to keep their season alive in Game 6.
I'm glad you said that, because I'd have came in here on Wednesday.
Well, we do have a show Wednesday, but not a game.
I had but I'd been late for that show. So, so what was the question?
Well, just how big the stake of this game is. Sam said he thinks that this is a more important one for the Stars than the Avs, and I disagree. I think it's equal, because if Dallas wins tonight and they go to Colorado up 3-2, there's going to be a lot of nervous Avalanche fans and possibly players thinking about last year's Game 6 where they went in there and won. So I think this one, look, the historical numbers are nearly 80% of NHL teams that win Game 5 when it's tied 2-2 go on to win the series. It's a big deal. It's not the end all, but it's a big deal.
But you want to be the team that gets to 3 first.
Yes.
Regardless of how you look at it, and the Avs would like to do that and be able to go at home. And the Avs can go home and go, they have to say, we have to win this game because we don't want to go back to Dallas for a Game 7. So, yeah, it depends on how you look at it. I just think that, for me, Dallas has to get off to a good start tonight. You do not want that team that you're playing to be able to pick up where they left off, because when they turned up the gas, they took it over.
Yes.
And one guy in particular for me, and that's the guy we were hoping didn't show up a lot. Number 8. And I think it was from the very first shift of that game, or second shift of his, that he went end to end. And he was dancing. And so he was on it. And then again, Landeskog, chirps in with what he did. So they're probably feeling pretty good about themselves. And so Dallas has to make sure that you talk about momentum. Does it carry over from game to game? I think it can for maybe the first 5 minutes. If Colorado gets off to a good start and you look up at the clock and the shots are 7-2 or something like that, and they spend most of the period, they're going to continue to build. And so, and which is where Jake needs to be Jake. And I know you guys were talking with Sam about Jake. If it wasn't for Jake in the first 2 periods of that hockey game, this thing could have been really bad. So Jake did everything that he could. Did 1 or 2 maybe squeak through him that he'd want back? Yeah, but there was a lot of other great opportunities that he took away from them. So I just look at the start. You're at home. Your fans are here. You know how your fans are going to be. And I think that they're not going to talk about it in the room, but we want to get them behind us. We want them to stay behind us because you want it to be like you're playing against 18,000 people tonight if you're with the Avs.
We're going to get back to that Jake Oettinger comment that Led's just made in a moment. We're going to talk about the offense that he talked about as well, or lack thereof. Lots of topics and storylines to get you ready for Game 5, Stars and Avs, and we'll do that next right here on DLLS.
What's up, Stars fans? Enjoying the game should be easy, so don't overthink it. What to wear? I hope you're wearing that lucky jersey tonight. Not sure what to serve your friends? That's even easier. Pick up some pizza and some beer and some grub, and make sure the beer is Bud Light and stock up the fridge. See, it's that easy. Just like Bud Light, which is always brewed with 4 simple ingredients for a clean, crisp taste. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy, but remember, do it responsibly. Bud Light, St. Louis, Missouri.
Let's talk about Sleeper, best fantasy league platform out there. You can put your puck knowledge or your ball knowledge to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week. Tonight, we're going to hear from John in just a moment when his Sleeper game picks. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries. Stay ahead of the game and keep track of league updates in real time so you're always informed and ready to outsmart your friends. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLS Stars to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply it to any contest, doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states, including Texas. Check out Sleeper today. And now, with his big picks for the night, here's John.
And we are simply going to play the odds on these ones. I've got 4 picks for you in this Sleeper entry for the evening. Nathan MacKinnon to record more than 0.5 goals. He has recorded at least a goal in 3 of the 4 games this series. Mackenzie Blackwood to record less than 24.5 saves. He has done so in half of the games so far this series. And then I've got 2 blocked shots to wrap it up. Esa Lindell to record more than 2.5 blocked shots. Has done so in 3 of 4 games this series. If you guys can guess which game Esa decided to not really lay it on the line from a shot blocking perspective, I'll give you $1 million. And then Cody Ceci to record less than 2.5 blocked shots. He has done so in 3 of 4 games this series. $10, put it together, wins the people $92.29.
All right, thank you, John. Let's talk about offense first and foremost. A lot of talk lately in the last 24, 48 hours about the Stars struggling offense after being shut out in Game 4. What do you think Dallas needs to do to increase their scoring threats? Then, of course, have more go in here in Game 5.
Well, I think the easy answer all the time is to deliver more pucks at the net. I think that's what the Avalanche have done. I think you're seeing them come down the wall. A lot of pucks are directed at the net, and then the other 2 guys without it, they drive to the net. You can't miss the net. And that all starts with the blue lines, and you've got to make sure that they're out at your blue line. You got to make sure it's in the offensive blue line. And, you know, it's old school kind of stuff, but I think both of these teams play pretty well when they get inside their zone as far as coverage and things like that. So I think the way that Colorado has solved that problem is to direct more pucks there. And so, you know, and there's a couple guys. I mean, you can go down the list, and it's almost like when you look at it, with the exception of the power play, and you're talking about MacKinnon, it's almost like they're canceling each other out, because a lot of this has been about the 4th line.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to call them. I mean, for the Stars and for the Avs. But there was a couple guys that I looked at, and I think, John, I don't know if we're starting on the Stars side or the Avs side. We can start on
the one you want.
Let's start on the Avs side.
Choice.
Yeah, you know, and I looked at Nate just right from the beginning. I mean, you know, when he got acquired, he's played 30 games, got 11 goals, points, and look what he's done in his playoff career. You know, he still has 11 goals, and he got a bunch of points in there too. But in this series, you know, he's one guy that's only got 1 assist. You know, that's all he has. And then the other guy I looked at right away was Brock Nelson. I mean, they picked him up. He does other things. The thing about Nelson, you see the games and everything played here, but the big thing is about Nelson is he's had chances. Nate just, to me, hasn't had as many chances, but Nelson has chances to score. I mean, I can remember one, Esa broke something up. Jake has made a couple saves on him, and he's right on the doorstep. He goes into the right areas.
Don't you think he got better as the series developed into games 3 and 4? I thought he was less noticeable earlier.
Well, it's because Nate's just been more of a perimeter guy.
Yes.
This guy's going to the front of the net.
Right, but Nelson, I think his best games have been his most recent ones in this series.
Well, and I think Well, yeah, and I think that's the bad news is they seem to be getting better and better and better. They're feeling better about their game. So those are the two guys I look from the outside. From Dallas's side, there's obviously a couple guys, and I look at Matt Duchene being one of them. He's got no points, which is very odd, and they've done a great job against him. They've been focused on shutting that line down, and again, they'll get their chances power play wise, but 5-on-5, not a lot there. And I think they know Matt. They know where he likes to be, and they take areas of the ice away. And so he can't do the things that he generally does on the regular season game. The other one is Wyatt. His best chance was at the end of the game the other night. He did the end-to-ender. I just think Wyatt, for me, is the one. And I know people are going to talk about Rantanen too, but Rantanen's been more noticeable. He's starting to get around it a little bit more. He's shooting the puck more. Wyatt, to me, has got to get that. I'm going to take it from this area of the ice and I'm going to the front of the net. He can do that. He can kind of knife his way through, and then he creates chances. He sticks around for second ones. But he's the guy on that line, to me, that creates more, and then Jamie can follow up and Dodonov can follow up. So those are the two guys for the Stars, and it'd be easy to close your eyes and throw a dart too, and you're probably not going to land on anybody on the fourth line because they're doing everything that's asked of them.
Now, on the flip side of that, what are they doing, those guys defensively, that maybe is not being seen as much? A guy like Coyle, Nelson, because I was just thinking as you were finishing your comment that, boy, I wonder what this series would be if they hadn't gone out and gotten Charlie Coyle and Jack Drury, and suddenly they were...
And Brock Nelson.
Yeah. And they were a little thin there. Would Dallas... look, Colorado's a really good team still, but would they be struggling to match up with the Stars if it wasn't for these acquisitions?
I think, oh yeah, for sure. And I think what they did is they remember how they won the Cup the last time. Yeah, it's always going to be a little bit different. But when you shore up things down the middle of the ice, which is exactly what they did, you hear me complaining about it all the time. The middle of the ice at both ends of the rink is super important. Now you bring in three guys. They've already got one guy there, but you bring in these three guys, especially when it comes to Nelson and Coyle. They're guys that are big, they're strong, they're face-off guys, they're heavy guys, and I think they just know where to be, and that's where they make their living, is in the middle of the ice like that. So they have tightened everything up. They make it more difficult to come through. Everything that I say about getting pucks to the net and things like that, they're forcing guys to do that and forcing guys to put pucks to the net. So at some point you have to continue to do that, because the one time they're not supposed to be able to hold you up is when you don't have the puck. That's why the two guys without the puck should be able to get to those areas of the ice. And if not, you draw a penalty.
Okay, let's talk about Jake for a minute. You mentioned Jake Oettinger earlier, and I totally agree. I think he was the reason why it didn't get way out of hand, even though they lost 4-0 in Game 4. How can the Stars in front of Jake help him? Because he looked dialed in Game 4. I thought he was going to be the difference maker in that game. What can they do to take some of that pressure off of him to not have to be the superstar every single moment of a 60-minute hockey game?
Seal guys out before the puck gets to the net. And two guys that, to me, that have been doing it well, Petro and again,
the kid.
I think both of those two guys, they're big. They know what they're doing. Bischel, you watch Bischel from the day he got here. He had a hard time changing over to the man-on-man, follow my guys around, because he was the guy that was at the net. He gets to the front of the net. He finds this guy that's driving the net, and he just drops a fence down, and you're not going to get in front of my goaltender. And you watch Petrovic do it. Petrovic doesn't stray far from his net anyways. I mean, they're a good pair, and that's what they do. They don't do the things that the other guys do, but I think the other guys have to do that as well. But again, for me, it's about not getting attracted to the puck so much. And when certain people have the puck, you know that it's coming to the net, and you have to start looking around, and you have to make sure that you contain them. They have to be sealed off, and they have to be contained, because that's the way that I think Jake can get out, and he feels more comfortable knowing that there isn't a lot of traffic. And I think there's times as the year goes along, he's always expecting some little bit of chaos to happen in front of the net. And it's where I think he would like things to be shored up in front of him, so that he can just have the confidence, I'm going to go out, I can come out and challenge, and I don't have to worry about making another save if I don't control my rebound.
Okay, let's talk about the other goaltender now, Mackenzie Blackwood. First shutout of his playoff career in game number 4. How do you think he's played in that game, but overarching this whole series thus far?
I think he's played pretty well. I mean, there's some things that he's made some great saves, and there's been ways that they've got a couple past him, but it's another situation where you're allowing forwards for Dallas are allowing them to be sealed out. And again, you have to make that difficult on them. And you have to be able to bring that defenseman that's trying to keep you away from the goaltender, and you have to push him almost into the goaltender. And there's times where you can kind of spin off and you can accidentally, and you can, I've had guys where I could spin them around, but what they would do is they would fall on top of the goaltender, but they would grab onto me. And then I would fall onto the goaltender with me.
Bring you with them.
Bring me with them. And so all of a sudden now it looks like it's just a battle in front of the net. So if you get that kind of mentality where you start falling on top of him and keeping him in his crease and don't let him come out and challenge and take his eyes away, all that little stuff that we talk about all the time. And I don't think Dallas has ever really had to have that kind of mentality because they're able to play east-west and score a goal. It doesn't generally work at this time of the year. So, and it's got to start with the guys that don't typically do it. You know what I mean? Like the Dodanovs and Granlunds and, those kind of guys will get in there. But I think everybody, it's got to be a community effort for Dallas to get in front of the goaltender and make life miserable for him.
I'm glad you mentioned the pulling him into the fight a bit, because I want to ask you about Mason Marchman's reputation with the referees, the officials. He's a marked man for his previous embellishments. He's been warned, he's been fined, he's been penalized for it, and he's been taking penalties. We've talked about this at length with Mason Marchman's game. He toes the line. He crosses the line sometimes and takes penalties that fans and coaches and other players will look at, or broadcasters will go, ooh, I don't like that. But he'll also get on the other side under their skin and draw them. He is a high event guy. How does Mason Marchman move forward with his style of play with the reputation that we know and he's aware of? Because, for example, that penalty that was drawn by Cale Makar in Game 4.
I think the first thing you can do is for the playoffs, stop trying to draw them. And you can, sometimes they're a little too theatrical for me.
Yes.
Those are the big ones. And I think referees, they spot that. And you're not, generally, you don't.
And aren't they looking for it now?
Well, they're looking, they know it.
With him.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, they know. They got the book on everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, they know. But I think for Marchman, I think he can be a physical guy, obviously. He should just get in, initiate the first check, and then leave. And just do your little bit, get out, hands down, all that other kind of stuff. And then as far as the embellishing part, stay away from it. Just don't even do it. I think there may be a critical time where things are tight in there. And if you have to, sometimes you go, no, I ain't going to tell you what you can do when you go down. That wouldn't be cool. But anyway, I just think you almost have to give the officials, starting tonight and moving forward to when you get into the second round and the third round, that, the guy's cleaned up his act. We're not going to see any more of that. So now they stop looking for it.
Can he, for lack of better word, rehabilitate his reputation or his image with NHL referees as he continues to move on through his career?
Yeah.
Or is he stuck with that persona from a on-ice official's standpoint now going on? Is there any way to change that?
Yeah, you stop. I mean, that's the only way to change it.
Yeah.
You can't go to an official and say, hey, I'm done with all the games and things like that, and then do it 2 shifts later. I mean, you got to go cold turkey. You know what I mean? Just play between the whistles. They're going to get they're really good. They're going to get what they're supposed to get. There's the times where you can kind of do this, but when the arms go and the head goes and the feet leave you and there's nobody around you, that I think, people in the stands can call it.
All right. We have to talk about Miro again because it's a constant. It's an everyday.
I don't know why. I told you guys the other night. No. This stuff ain't happening.
This is my point. Miro, it's exactly what you expected to happen.
Yeah. First off, it's 24 hours later, and we're expecting him to. He's been in no contact
because of a morning skate. There's no way.
There's no way. I mean, if he didn't do anything in the 2 days off, now I didn't even know there were 2 days off till just now. So maybe this is something different. He doesn't get in tonight. Maybe that so-called contact that everybody wants to keep talking about.
Wednesday's practice?
He gets bumped by somebody. But I'm telling you that if it got shut down like that, he's not close. I mean, I shouldn't say that. But it was like, nope, he's not going. Okay, well, then maybe it will be.
And we saw him in the morning,
6.
the morning skate today when they did their breakout drills. He was skating with... He did a one wave with Dumba, and he did another wave with Brendan Smith. Okay. It was clearly the fourth pairing.
The other thing is there is doctors come into play here. and they can take looks at things and see how everything is coming along as far as healing up and whatever it may be. And then you kind of get the green light from them. To me, what it sounds like is, no, he's not going tonight. And so whether that's like, we're not going to say it, we're going to act like he's not going to be in there for game 6, that's very possible. But I just didn't feel it because there's only a day off in between. Nobody's going to skate, and they want to keep bringing up this contact thing, which, again, I don't think that's personally, I don't think it's that big of a deal, the whole contact thing. So it may be out a little farther than we think, but I think the good news is Dallas wins this game and they win it the way you're supposed to win it. You might not see him in game 6 either. Because, again,
right, because you don't need to.
Because you really are going to need him when you get to the second round and a little deeper, because now the defensemen that are playing more minutes, the Harleys and Essen, guys like that, they need another guy to get out there and chew up some more minutes from him. So the longer you can hold him off and get him closer to confidence-wise and everything else, he can step in and get closer to the minutes that we're used to seeing him play.
Now, Sean has a idea.
Oh, no, I saw it.
Yeah.
I don't even get it.
We're going to talk about it when he's on the show
Sean
on
must
Wednesday.
have been still drinking.
I want to ask you a quick question, and we have a super chat, and then we've got to end our pregame show. Pete DeBoer's quote this morning, which I thought was the most interesting, was he feels that both of these teams, because of their familiarity, regular season and now this playoff series, he was asked about, can they do a lot of adjustments because of how well they know each other? And he said, I believe both teams understand the formula that they each have to win hockey games in this series. The question is, which team gets to their game first and stays with it and executes the longest? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that, and that's why I talk about systems. And we talked about early after game 1 that you could see that they made some changes in the D zone. I'm talking about the Stars now. There were some changes. Unfortunately, because you've been programmed for 82 games to play a certain way, sometimes you just naturally revert back to, oh, I'm not supposed to be here. This is what we're doing. This is different, which is why I always complain about, if you're going to play a certain way in the playoffs, just do it for 82 games. So it just becomes automatic for you. So, but that's part of the playoffs, is you have to make adjustments. And so they're adjusting to each other. And when you watch the game, I don't think there's any major changes that are happening here. They're just little tweaks and this and that. You want to get this guy against a certain defenseman and keep him away from a certain guy. That's probably it. And that kind of falls into the favor of the Stars because last change here. So they can get guys out that they want. But so I think from the standpoint, they've got to worry about how to shut down 2 guys. That's my thing. And again, the other thing is Makar seems to had that game back, and MacKinnon just scores from the same kind of spot all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm going, okay, well, we take that away and make him go across the middle of the ice and try to get to the other side. And that's where, if you have your structure right, he's going to run into some traffic. And so you have to hurt him to the other side of the ice if he continues to score from that right side of Jake.
All right, we have a super chat, and then we will wrap up our pregame show.
Bing bong.
Clorotis with a Blackwell and a Sagan found a $53 refund check from my car insurance company from last September. Called them to see if it was okay to cash it. They said yes, and that's how I paid for my Die Hard membership.
Good money. Well spent.
Very well spent. Don't forget, $36 still available. You can use the QR code. It ends tonight. And John, there's
honest, calling and see if he could cash it. Why not just cash it?
Well, if it was
Maybe
from
didn't want it to bounce?
Probably. If it was from last September.
That's all right. We'll honor it.
Yeah. By the way, Talek Lizzie, I'll buy a membership if the Stars win tonight. I like it. He's on. Let's do it. Stars win game 5. Talek Lizzie will sign up for a DLS Die Hard membership, and we'll just keep this train on rolling. We'll be here for the postgame show afterwards. For Luds, for Sam, for John, I'm Owen. Thanks for joining us here in our Game 5 pregame show.
I believe that they are going to crush these guys tonight.
He always...
We all silly like the mayor.